जब हम डाइटरी रिस्ट्रिक्शन की बात करते हैं, now we are doctors, so definitely we have to have some scientific validation of whatever we are saying. तो we again go back. तो एक बार कहते हैं ना उसको क्या, क्रैश कोर्स कर लेते हैं जल्दी से फिर से. So now again we go back. जैसे we are talking about calorie restriction, हमने बोला किसी को भी okay you should now restrict your diet, तो right away come, अच्छा let me do keto diet. वो डिटेल में चला जाता है, राइट. अच्छा मैं कीटो डाइट कर लेती हूँ या मैं कीटो डाइट कर लेता हूँ, या कोई उसको बोलेगा कि व्हाई डोंट यू डू कीटो डाइट, और वो इंटरनेट पे जाएंगे एंड दे विल सी कीटो डाइट. सो आंसर इज वेरी क्लियर, एवरी कैलोरी रिस्ट्रिक्टेड डाइट इज अ कीटो डाइट. हम बहुत क्लियर हो गए, राइट. एंड देन द नेक्स्ट थिंग विल कम दैट कीटोन्स कम ओनली फ्रॉम द फैट डाइट. So we know that no, ketones don't come only from the fat diet. Anytime you are starving yourself or near starvation, or there is calorie deficit state of the body is, all the metabolic fuel of the body will start giving you the ketones. It's not necessarily that you have to be only on the fat diet to have the ketones. The basic principle still remain is that any low calorie diet or a very low calorie diet over a period of time is going to give ketogenesis. Then they will say that no, we are not talking about the body ketones, the ketones made by the body. We are saying the ketones will be provided by the diet. No, that is the things what we always used to argue. ये चलता है जब if you really start doing the obesity practice like that way or weight loss, you will find all this internet पर और जो बाकी के. अरे when are we saying that it should be the body ketones? Then the answer comes is, what do you mean to say? You are consuming ketones from outside. No, you are, end of the day, your body has to do its own job to generate ketones from either fat or the carbohydrate or the protein, right? So end of the day, it is going to be ketogenicity. Whether you are calling is a keto diet or you are calling is a ketotic diet, doesn't matter. It is end of the day a ketogenic diet only. Now, when we talk about the low calorie diet for a long time, which is going to be ketogenic in itself, or we say that every calorie restricted diet is a keto diet, then we have to understand that what would be the good, bad and ugly aspect of any keto diet and in terms of any calorie restricted diet for a long time. Now, when somebody, so as soon as we say that okay, it has to be a low calorie diet, then the question comes is, what is the main fundamental behind it to give a low calorie diet, and what is the pathway of losing the weight in that? Very, very clear. We are keeping one principle in our mind, कि whatever the restriction we are giving, one thing we are restricting to a significant level, that is our glucose. Glucose is one which we are restricting to a significant level. This is what we all have come to a consensus in today's world. If we can restrict glucose, probably our output will be very, very good. Now, to what extent of glucose we are restricting, that is very subjective. That is between the clinician and the patient, depending upon again the background of the patient, the religion of the patient, the ethnicity of the patient, the cultural beliefs of the patient. Many times, you cannot make anybody zero carbohydrate. Not many times. In India, it is impossible to make everybody zero carbohydrate because we are predominantly vegetarians, and vegetarian diet with zero carbohydrate is almost impossible. Okay. Now, but okay, we keep this. If the carbohydrate we can manage up till 20 grams a day, say up till 50 grams a day, we can still reach to a level of ketogenicity in the body at certain point of time. May not be in day 3 or day 4, but maybe a bit later. Those 40 days of thing what we had discussed yesterday on starvation, that will be delayed, but that will happen. Now, what is the basic principle about it? That we have glycogen in our body. How much glycogen we have? We have 75 grams of glycogen in the liver, and we have almost about say 250 to 350 grams of glycogen in our muscle. So 75 grams of glycogen, this is our target to exhaust initially. We have to exhaust the source of glucose, direct source of glucose from the body, which is glycogen. उसको हमको खत्म करना है, उसको हमको exhaust करना है completely. So 75 grams of glycogen can give you 300 calories, very simple. And muscle glycogen also convert into glucose, and muscle glycogen converts in pyruvate, but somehow the muscle glycogen is not directly involved in increasing the blood glucose level or supplying the glucose initially to the blood. But the same pyruvate, when converts to alanine, one of the amino acid, that alanine goes to the liver, and there again it can go in the gluconeogenesis and can give the glucose. So indirectly even that 300 grams can be used. So 300 grams and 75 grams, so almost 400 grams of glycogen can be consumed, which can give almost about 1600 calories. So point number one, when you are putting anybody on a dietary restriction, ask the patient to do at least 1 or 2 days of complete water fasting, if possible, or as much as fluid possible. So no carbohydrate for at least next 2 days. So 2 days किया तो क्या हो गया? Glycogen gone, glucose of the body gone. Now we remember one thing. वो पूरा का पूरा अब याद रखिएगा. That chart, you remember that chart? 40 days. अब हम आ जाते हैं कि भाई 2 दिन के बाद क्या होगा? 2 दिन के बाद सबसे important, in these 2 days ghrelin will come down, ghrelin will start coming up because glucose is going down. Not, and glucose पूरा जाता नहीं है क्योंकि ग्लाइकोजिनोलाइसिस हो रहा है, थोड़ा सा ग्लूकोनियोजेनेसिस फ्रॉम द प्रोटीन भी हो रहा है, तो ग्लूकोज स्टिल देयर. सो थर्ड डे ऑल्सो यू आर नॉट एडिंग अप ग्लूकोज, आप रिस्ट्रिक्टेड ही रख रहे हैं थर्ड डे पर भी. नाउ द ग्रेलिन which will go up because of the fluctuation of glucose is going to tell the brain go and eat, right? Because glucose is going down. Brain will say that okay, glucose is going down, I have to increase the glucose, and there is a time when the counter regulatory hormones will start coming up in a good amount. Initially also it is coming, day 1 also it is coming, otherwise glycogenolysis will also not happen. But now gluconeogenesis has to be at a higher rate, and even the lipolysis has to set in. GH will come in, catecholamines are already there inside, glucagon is already there, TSH start going up, ACTH is, because now it's a stress also to the body. Not giving the food to the body is a stress. So it is going to respond like a stress phenomenon. So ACTH will go up, MSH will go up, and body will start looking for the food. And this is the time when the patient is calling you and telling you, डॉक्टर नहीं हो रहा है. कितना भी अच्छा डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म क्यों ना हो उसका, तो ऑलमोस्ट 50% लोगों में तो डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म पूरा ब्लंट हो चुका है. वो वापस आने में ही टाइम लगता है, बिकॉज लाइफ लॉन्ग दे हैव नेवर एवर experienced fasting in their whole life, right? Now for the very first time they are doing it. और पहले जो भी फास्टिंग की कभी भी किया तो रिलीजियस की वजह से किया या कुछ भी अपने मन से किया, यहाँ हो रहा है डॉक्टर के कहने पर कर रहे हैं, तो बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है वैसे भी. Then so here your patient needs you, there you are explaining don't worry, nothing would happen. Hey, I am getting headache. Now why the patient is getting headache? Because brain is looking for all the possible glucose available. ब्रेन को अपना 120 ग्राम ग्लूकोज चाहिए, ग्लूकोज लेकिन अभी ब्लड में कम है क्योंकि जीआई ट्रैक से ग्लूकोज नहीं आ रहा है. कम का मतलब है लिमिटेड है. सो मसल स्टॉप यूजिंग ग्लूकोज, लिवर स्टॉप यूजिंग ग्लूकोज, किडनी स्टॉप यूजिंग ग्लूकोज एक्सेप्ट फॉर द रीनल मेडुला, स्प्लीन, ऑल द अदर ऑर्गन्स आर कंप्रोमाइजिंग ऑन द यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ ग्लूकोज कि ग्लूकोज थोड़ा स्पेयर हो जाए ब्लड के अंदर, लेकिन अब वो ब्लड तेजी से जाता है ब्रेन में टू डिलीवर द ग्लूकोज एट अ फास्टर रेट. Got it? And because of that they start getting headache. This is nothing but you can say migraine or you can say hunger induced migraine. Clear? This you tell patient कि don't worry, headache हो रहा है, take a painkiller. Painkillers are not always bad. So take a very simple paracetamol, take a, or even a migraine medication for that one day. You can give a Vasograin or anything to that patient on that particular day. कि my target is also to decrease the size of your stomach. That is also my target. In 40 days, I will decrease not the size of stomach, I will decrease the holding capacity of your stomach. Like you do during pregnancy, uterus grows like this. Involution takes how much time, madam? 40 days. There is involution. In 40 days, uterus again becomes a pelvic organ. 40 days it takes. For uterus, इतना बड़ा होने के बाद में 40 दिन में वो रिग्रेस होकर के इन्वॉल्यूट होकर के आ जाता है। अब सोचिए, नाउ थिंक अबाउट यूट्रस एंड थिंक अबाउट स्टमक, एंड देयरफॉर वी आर डॉक्टर्स। गॉट इट? हमको उसी स्टमक की होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी को वापस हमको लेके आना है कि अब ये 50 ग्राम खाने में सेटिस्फाई हो जाए। दिस इज स्टमक साइज, राइट? कैन यू बिलीव दैट दिस स्टमक कैन हैव लीटर्स ऑफ फ्लूइड? गॉट इट? तो इसीलिए अब ये हमको समझाना है डे 1 पर कि ये टारगेट है, तकलीफ होगी, लेकिन हमको, मैं हूं तुम्हारे साथ, आई एम विद यू, डोंट वरी अबाउट इट। इफ दे आर विजिलेंट एनफ, सो नाउ इफ दे आर विजिलेंट एनफ and if you feel that there can be a problem, let them keep a glucometer, and there is always some assistance in the family. If there is an issue, they can check the glucose. More, I am telling you, you will not find otherwise healthy individual having hypoglycemia just like that. Symptoms are there, but people feel it is hypoglycemia, but it is actually not hypoglycemia. But again, when we are managing, we have to keep all those complications in our mind, and we should be able to tackle them. Abhi, see, in medical management, nothing can be just like a cakewalk. And we are doctors, we also don't want anything to be a cakewalk. Right? What is the difference between that internet doctors and you? Okay? But usually doesn't happen, because body will not let the hypoglycemia happen, and that's why the defense mechanisms are there, na? Fine. Now what is the pathway which is happening inside? So there is a limited glucose, so brain is asking for the glucose. Now GI tract is not giving enough glucose. Brain says that I want glucose. Their RBC says that I cannot handle without glucose, I cannot even use any other fuel. All the other body organs they start using the fatty acid, they start using the amino acid. Okay? After few days, maybe 1 week time, from 120 grams of glucose, the brain starts saying that I am okay using 80 grams of glucose. So the other 40 gram can start coming from the ketone bodies. Fine. And RBC still are dependent on the glucose. Again, glucose is not going in. Other food items are going in a very restricted way. So calories are restricted, glucose is also restricted. On subsequent days, the brain compromises more on the glucose utilization, and brain says that okay, I am comfortable with the ketones, so give me ketones, or keep giving me ketones. Body says that okay, I'll give you the fatty acid because I have enough stores of triglyceride in my body, in the adipose side, which I have been breaking for last so many days. So why don't you start using triglyceride? Brain says that triglyceride cannot enter in me because of the barrier. So liver, why don't you just keep sending me the ketones? So liver takes all the responsibility of ketogenesis or fatty acid oxidation. Liver breaks down with the fatty acid oxidation, liver gets its own energy because liver cannot use the ketones by itself. Okay, and the ketones are released in the blood, and the ketones go to the brain, and brain is comfortable. Okay, I am utilizing ketones, but still I want 30 grams of glucose finally. So that 30 grams of glucose either you are giving from the diet, or means the food what you are giving, or the body is not getting any glucose or much of the glucose. So some or the other glucose should come from the gluconeogenesis. Now this gluconeogenesis is happening from where? Initially it was happening from the glycerol, which was coming from the breakdown of the triglyceride, which is fatty acid and glycerol. So this glycerol was going in gluconeogenesis. Initially, in initial few days of your calorie restriction, this is just giving 10% of the glucose, or it is involved 10%. And initially because the proteins are abundantly available, freely available in your muscle and all. So initially the protein of the muscle start breaking down. I am talking about the initial few days of the calorie restriction. क्योंकि मुझे starvation से थोड़ा आगे जाना है. I am not talking about starvation, because starvation is not what we are going to do. Fine. Now if you are doing the water only diet or something, that is a different thing. Now if we are when the protein start breaking down, there will be amino acids, and few of the amino acids are gluconeogenic. Right? What are the amino acids which are gluconeogenic? We had already discussed yesterday. So again we can enumerate them. So methionine, threonine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, valine, histidine, isoleucine, arginine, alanine, aspartate, glutamine, glutamate, hydroxyproline, maybe glycine, tyrosine. So they all are the gluconeogenic amino acid, and they can also enter directly in the, and they are neogenic and also can give the energy through the TCA cycle. And TCA cycle is actually the core cycle for anything. For anything to give energy, finally it is the TCA cycle. Whether it is glucose, so NADH, FAD and everything which is formed, then finally go to the electron transport and then gives the energy. But this is the connecting between the glucose, protein and fat, and through which acetyl-CoA. So acetyl-CoA is important. Acetyl-CoA is coming from all of them. It is coming from protein, coming from fat, coming from the glucose. And this acetyl-CoA is entering in the TCA cycle, and finally the energy is being given. This is what मोटे मोटे तौर पर हम सबने कल समझ लिया था और आज हमको याद रखना है. Now when this protein start breaking down, amino acids are coming, the gluconeogenic amino acids are giving glucose, and the other glucose is coming from the glycerol. But after a few days, again, protein is something what body cannot compromise on, otherwise it will break down. So to prevent that protein, so इसीलिए in initial days, even give the restriction of protein. Now this is also important. So you have given carbohydrate restriction. Now in initial, say 3-4 days, you give even protein at a lesser rate. Don't give too much of protein. Why? You want to create an artificial situation of protein deficiency. So you created artificial situation of glucose deficiency. Glycogen khatam, glucose khatam मतलब ग्लूकोज कम, ब्रेन जिद्दी, ब्रेन को चाहिए ग्लूकोज, आरबीसी को चाहिए ग्लूकोज. उन्होंने कहा वी वांट ग्लूकोज, ईदर गिव फ्रॉम आउटसाइड और गिव फ्रॉम इनसाइड, वी डोंट केयर. Outside we are not providing, inside it is coming from the protein. Now again a defense will come, protein we can't break, right? But if we are giving enough protein from outside initial days, then it is okay na. Protein will keep on breaking, we are giving protein, the fat will not break. So initial days again we are giving some protein deficiency also. So we are not providing too much of protein. So we are giving 10 grams, 20 grams of protein. So it is a typical calorie restricted diet. Again, it is a low carbohydrate, it is very low fat, and it is a low protein. Got it? Now you have induced that situation कि प्रोटीन मसल का ब्रेक डाउन होना नहीं चाहिए, नेचर ने बोला, और बाहर से आप ज़्यादा दे नहीं रहे हैं, राइट? What would happen? Body has to go in the defense mechanism of preventing the protein, and what we have seen yesterday. After few days, the nitrogen in the urine start going down. Okay? And why? How does it happen? But then the body says that I cannot compromise more on the protein. Now the fat, you start breaking down. Now it's your turn to start breaking down dominantly, and then the lipolysis starts setting up. Got it? So the initial weight loss what anybody is getting is the loss of glycogen, and yesterday we have spoken that 1 gram of glycogen will have 3 ml of water. So whatever initially 3-4 days anybody is losing is the water and the glycogen, which is okay, which is equally important, because when we are talking about the knee joint, it is not only the fat weight what you have to decrease, any weight. So don't go with again ये तो water loss था, ये तो carbohydrate loss था. Initially you need a weight loss. It's not about fat loss, और वो fat loss हम लेंगे बाद में, पर हमको आपके नी जॉइंट को भी थोड़ा आराम देना है. Got it? तो अगर 1 किलो भी कम हुआ ना वाटर लॉस भी और डायूरेटिक से भी, तो भी वो थोड़ा हार्ट को भी आराम मिलता है. हम डायूरेटिक क्यों देते हैं इन अ कार्डियक पेशेंट? सो हार्ट इज टेकन केयर ऑफ, हार्ट इज अ बिट नॉट ओवरबर्डन. सो हियर ऑल्सो it is not overburdened, so it's okay, fine. Now the lipolysis, with all these deficiencies we are in the state of stress, catecholamines are up, cortisol is coming up. So the catecholamine and cortisol, when they are working together along with the thyroid, what will it do? And growth hormone, what will it do? It start diverting the energy from the lipolytic pathway. Now from here the lipolysis will start taking the main role in the body. Now this lipolysis, and it is with any of the restriction. Okay. In lipolysis, what is happening? Now right away the hormone sensitive lipase of the adipocyte is activated more. Okay. And this hormone sensitive lipoprotein lipase, so what are the hormones which are responsible for it? I will again enumerate. So many, we remember it, we repeat it, we remember it. So glucagon, corticosteroid, ACTH, TSH, MSH, in the presence of good thyroid and good cortisol. So lipolysis start happening, and there is a breakdown of triglyceride in the fat cell. It is more called as a triacyl glycerol. In the fat cell, the same TG, they are the same actually, but it is called as triacyl glycerol. Otherwise, we very commonly say that triglyceride. Okay. So in the TG, it is a triacyl glycerol which is broken down in fatty acid and glycerol. And one thing we remember yesterday, why this broken fatty acid and glycerol not again combined back to make the triglyceride inside the fat cell is because the fat cell, the adipocyte, does not have one enzyme which is glycerol kinase, and because of that adipocyte itself cannot utilize the glycerol, and that is the mechanism nature has made. So fatty acid is out, glycerol is out. Now this glycerol goes for the gluconeogenic pathway to give glucose, and that's how this glycerol is sparing the protein. So protein body ka bachna chalu ho gaya. Done? And this fatty acid which is coming out now will be combined with the albumin. So fatty acid does not move free in the blood, usually it combines with the albumin for a better acceptance by the liver also. Right? Now this fatty acid is combined with the albumin, and whatever the free fatty acid is readily available for the energy. Now this fatty acid is going to so most of the organs can use fatty acid even as a direct source of energy. Your heart, your spleen, your kidneys, they all can use fatty acid. Brain cannot use it directly. We have repeated this many times. Okay. Now this fatty acid go in the liver, and in the liver what is happening now? Fatty acid is having the option of what? Option of directly giving the energy. Again through the acetyl-CoA pathway, it goes to give. It goes in the through the acetyl-CoA. It goes to the TCA cycle, and then it gives the energy. Fine. And fatty acids are high energy. Got it? A simple conversion of 2 carbons of fatty acid, 2 carbon of a fatty acid to acetyl-CoA gives you almost about 4 ATPs of energy, ATP. So 4 ATPs of energy are given at simple that one step. So think about any fatty acid which is 14 carbon, which is like a long chain fatty acid. So from 14 carbon, actually it is 16. So from 16 carbon, you usually get 7 acetyl-CoA molecule. Okay, and the 7 acetyl-CoA will give you 7 into 4, 28 ATPs only to give you the acetyl-CoA. And when this acetyl-CoA goes in the Krebs cycle, every acetyl-CoA is almost giving you 10 ATPs, maybe more than that. So 28 there and 10 here, 110 into 8, because one more is there. So 10 into 8 is 80 plus 28, 108 ATPs are produced with one palmitic acid. 108. 2 are used in the pathway. So total 106 ATPs you get from one palmitic acid oxidation. Clear? So either body can go in that pathway. But now, why the ketones are formed then? When body can form the energy by fatty acid, and heart can use the fatty acid, spleen can use the fatty acid, liver can use the fatty acid, kidneys can use the fatty acid, then what is the need to go in making the ketones from fatty acid? For the brain. RBC are using only glucose. So only for the brain this ketogenesis is happening. Okay, now, so this fatty acid is going in ketogenesis only to provide ketones to the brain, and also to other organs can also use the ketone, but primarily is for the brain. Clear हो गया? Now the same pathway which is giving the ketone, it is the same pathway which gives the cholesterol. The same pathway to certain extent, and then there is a diversion. This also, because as soon as we are talking about the low calorie diet, we are talking about the no cholesterol in the diet, we are talking about this. So how the cholesterol is coming in the body. So it is a de novo synthesis of the cholesterol. Inside the body, cholesterol is being synthesized. Now the same pathway from acetyl-CoA gives you HMG, HMG-CoA. So one enzyme, HMG-CoA synthase, works on acetyl-CoA, will give you HMG-CoA. Now this HMG-CoA is important. Now this HMG-CoA can go either towards the pathway of ketone synthesis or to the pathway of cholesterol synthesis. If there is too much of energy deficit outside, it will go for the pathway of ketone synthesis. Clear? If you are providing too much of energy from outside, even in the form of the high calorie, high fat keto diet, it will go to the pathway of cholesterol synthesis. Clear? So that is the problem with them when they start saying that eat as much as you want. Okay. Now, how? By HMG-CoA lyase, if works on this HMG-CoA, it will go to the ketone pathway. If HMG-CoA reductase works on this, it goes to the cholesterol pathway. And here comes the role of statin. If there is high cholesterol coming up, so don't hesitate to put statin to the patient. At least what you are doing, so you are seeing somebody who is, you are put on a low calorie, low carbohydrate or whatever. So low calorie restricted diet, right? And you are finding cholesterol to be on a higher side. I am talking about overall cholesterol to be on a higher side, right? So what will you do? Don't hesitate. Initially you give some statin. What will this statin do? This statin is going to inhibit the HMG-CoA reductase and divert the HMG-CoA to the ketone pathway. So more ketones would be available. But if you are doing it with a very high calorie, very high fat diet and give the statin, then the ketones would be absolutely out of control. Got it? And that's why when they say that calorie restriction with statin, even for the LDL control, they always say that restrict your calories and add statin. It is not, they never say that eat whatever you want and keep on popping statin. No cardiologists say that. Clear हो गया? तो हमारा statin को लेकर के जो confusion है दूर हुआ, so statin डाल दिया. Now this same HMG-CoA lyase makes acetoacetate. Now this acetoacetate is available. Now this acetoacetate will be converting to beta hydroxybutyrate also. So one acetoacetate, one beta hydroxybutyrate. Now they can do their job either by interconversion or independently. So what they do, what these ketone bodies do, now they have the option, these ketone bodies, wherever they go. Now what option they have? Either they go on again on the energy producing pathway or they go for the fatty acid synthesis. They can. In the brain they do like that way. So the ketone can again, means acetoacetate and beta hydroxybutyrate can again enter in the TCA cycle at the succinyl-CoA level. Okay. वहाँ गया तो it enter, तो हो गया Krebs cycle में, and Krebs cycle will give the final energy. Ketone job is done. Or if energy is not required, what will it do? If energy is not required and ketones are there by those heavy high fat diet, very heavy high fat, high calorie high fat diet, it is still available. So it is going again back to acetyl-CoA, and from acetyl-CoA it can either go to the glucose side or it can go to the fatty acid side. Now acetyl-CoA directly does not convert to glucose. It can convert to glucose only by the Krebs cycle, gluconeogenesis, otherwise no. So where it will go majorly then? The fatty acid synthesis. So more fatty acids are now again synthesized. जो break हुआ था, जो ज़रूरत नहीं है, फिर से synthesize होकर के आ गया. Clear?